Mr. Reddit Man presents Police Officers of Reddit. Was there ever an incident where you had to arrest a close friend of yours? If so, what happened and did it affect your relationship with that person? A buddy of mine's dad is a cop who rotates from being on the streets giving out tickets and making arrests to working inside the speedometer monitoring office. I do not know what it's officially called. Anyways, his son just had a bad breakup and was speeding home, not paying attention to the camera until it was too late. His dad saw the footage, recognized the car, and processed the ticket, just like he would for anyone else. I actually remember sitting with both of them during a game night the week the son got the ticket in the mail and he joked about his dad taking care of it, to which his dad simply said, "Nope, we caught you fair and square." That is a great reply by his father. Exactly. I do not think the kid was actually trying to get out of it, but his dad was pretty serious about the fact that he was not going to play around with the system. Fear both good people. I had a client that I had reason to believe was going to be indicted due to an investigation of marijuana distribution ring. I had already called the sheriff's department and told the warrant division to give me a call and I would make my client available if he got charged. They called me after the grand jury handed down the indictments and I arranged to have a deputy meet us at the magistrate's office so that he could be arrested and booked. We get there and the deputy is his best friend from high school. They were just sort of grinning at each other as my client was searched and handcuffed. The deputy asked him if he wanted to talk to one of their narcotics guys. My client is like, "Yeah, right," and the deputy says something like, "I knew you would not, but had to ask." Both of them laughing. When we got in front of the magistrate, the deputy emphasized how cooperative he had been and that he had turned himself in. So the magistrate released him on an unsecured bond. Did he show back up? Absolutely. We beat the case too. It didn't happen to me, but my uncle arrested his best friend because he asked my uncle to transport cocaine for him since nobody would suspect a police officer. He ended up crying and apologizing, but still went to jail. This is a main factor in why small town cops retire. They get tired of arresting people they know. I recently moved to a small town. One of my friends got pulled over for speeding. He happens to live pretty close to the police station. The officer said, "Oh, hey, I know you. You're that guy always pacing across the street from us." He got a warning. Another friend moved to the United States from another country. A cop tried pulling him over, but because there were no sirens and it was not like he had seen on TV, my friend did not understand and just kept going. And then he tried turning to get away from him. That's when he got the sirens he wanted. I managed a pizza delivery place in my town, and we were pretty cool with all the police. But one of my drivers in particular was personal friends with all of them. He regularly would go 90 plus down the roads making deliveries, but he never really got any punishment other than being pulled over and asked to knock it off. One day one of the cops I know well comes into the store. I talk to him pretty frequently. He's a cool guy. He comes in and says, "Hey, tell Mando to slow his ass down, man. We're getting complaints about him." I could not help but laugh a little bit. The police were asking his boss to tell him to slow down. When I first started in LA, my trainer encouraged me to get used to navigating our computer system. So I looked up some of my family members. I discovered that my uncle had an active failure to appear to court warrant for, and I'm a lucky you not, operating a junkyard without a permit. He ran a used car lot and dabbled in parting out cars. So technically accurate. I'll let him know about it for his own awareness. And he elected to do the right thing. He contacted a bondsman and turned himself in to jail to be processed and get it cleared up. He just happened to choose a night to turn himself in that I was working, and as a trainee it was my expectation to do all pad searches to gain more experience at doing it right. My trainer took pity on me and did not actually make me arrest and search my uncle, but I should have. Years later, before I left the career, I would have done it in a heartbeat without thinking twice because it was my job, but I was squeamish at the time due to being so new. I also had to search and process one of my soldiers who got himself into trouble. Army reservist. I was his section sergeant. I was extra pissed at him though, because his drunk ass broke my several month streak of not needing to use physical force on anyone. And this was after he'd already been tased by the arresting officers. Not police, but my bill as a parking attendant gave my mother a parking ticket on Christmas Eve when she was picking up his present for my sister. He got toast for Christmas dinner. My mother, state trooper, wrote me a ticket once in high school. I may have deserved it a bit, but I'm sure she also enjoyed being a bit of an urban legend. So, for context, my high school, Chicago, was pretty much right off of the expressway. My car was a bit easily recognizable around town. Loud stereo, rims ... The usual mid/late 90s setup. I was going a bit fast, let's just say, and had my music up loud enough to where I did not hear the unit behind me, in what should have been a familiar voice, since it was my mother, instructing me to slow down. I did see the lights. When they went on, I pulled into the school parking lot, thinking maybe it'd get a break. Then I heard real name, "Get your narrow ass out of the car ... By this time, it was full on spectacle. She wrote me a ticket to where I could attend a class on a weekend to keep it from going on my record. As you can imagine, the rest of the day was super fun. Everyone respected the sensitive nature of the situation and barely brought it up at all. Had to arrest my sister for DUI. I was the only cop in a small town and she wrapped her car around a tree and was hammered. On the one hand it sucked, but on the other it was an easy decision, because being a family member does not excuse dangerous and illegal behavior. I think you did the right thing. Hope your sister was okay. Thanks. She was unhurt in the crash and the entire episode was a huge wake-up call that she needed help. This was many years ago and water under the bridge between us. I became friends with the cop who arrested me for DUI. I was not mad at him because I 100% deserved it. When I went to court, another friend was the bailiff. My boss was the attorney in the next case, and the judge was my business law professor I had at the time. Not me, but a friend is a fire warden, Leo, in our state. His father was illegally burning pressure treated wood in a burn barrel. Cannot burn pressure treated wood or use a burn barrel on a day where open burning was suspended because of the fire danger. He told him about his intent to burn the day prior, to which my friend informed him it's illegal and he will get a ticket for that. His father said that the town does not enforce the local fire laws and that the state would not care either. Knowing that his son works for the state and very much does care, my friend pulls up the next day, once again tries to explain it, and his dad says something along the lines of, "If you are really trying to be one of those kinds of asshole cops, write me a damn ticket for this little fire." So my friend writes the ticket and takes a picture of the fire in case his dad tries to fight it. This little fire was about 10 feet tall, in a burn barrel, on a day that you cold not legally burning pressure treated wood. They do not talk much, and his dad is an asshole, so good riddance. My cousin called me from a traffic stop once. His license was suspended as duck for non-stop DUIs going back years. He was drunk this time, too, plus some cocaine besides. I did talk to the cop, but only to make sure he was not going to do my cousin any favors. He got work release, escaped to get ducked up, and wound up back in prison. He bled my uncle for cash while he was inside, claiming he had gambling debts that would get him killed, likely contributing to my uncle's heart attack. When he got out, he tried to get malarkey tea about me not covering for him. I told him he'll probably live longer in prison and he needed to quit smoking crack. I love him, but has a stupid methodica. Obligatory not me, but my father was the sergeant and lead juvenile officer of my hometown growing up. He had to arrest my brother for stealing when we were in high school. My brother had been stealing money from the band room that was received from students for replacement reeds, instrument screws, etc. Our band teacher could not figure out who was doing it, but he suspected my brother. The big instrumental solo competition was coming around and suddenly all the students' admission money went missing. So my teacher set up a camera in his office and put away in the usual spot money that had been collected that day. Sure enough, my brother comes in and does not hesitate going to the spot where the money is hidden and takes it. Later that day I see my dad enter the school on his day off in civilian clothes. Watch him not even acknowledge me and head straight for the principal's office. He had to not only read him his rights, but cuff him and put him in the cruiser. That one of the officers then took him to the police station to be processed. Ultimately the school dropped the charges, but damn if that was not the coldest family dinner. I'm curious what happened after. What was your brother's reaction? Did he had to give money back? Yeah, he gave the money back. He never got a chance to spend it. It was a hard time at our house. He was crying and was made to not only apologize to the teachers, but to our family. This was not the first time he had been caught doing things illegal throughout this time. After this he was actually kicked out of the house and had to go live with his mom. He is technically my stepbrother. For a while. After a few rough years he has turned his life around and we as a family are all very close. Uncle arrested me for underage driving and I was fined a slap on the wrist compared to what would have happened to others. Oh yes. Buckle up. This is ducked up. Had this buddy in high school. We were close friends and we smoked weed from time to time. He was my source. He told me all he wanted to do was smoke weed every day, didn't care about anything else. He just wanted to make enough money to have an apartment and buy weed. That was really when we started to split ways. Sure, smoking weed is fun, but not that fun lol. After military service, I worked for my hometown local PD. At the time I was in the drug unit. Now understand, we did not give malarkey about weed unless it was massive amounts, and even then, there were no legal states and most of it came from Mexico. Go high enough up the chain we could not go any further as cartels were unreachable and didn't snitch. We were after cartel meth, which plagued our town. Anyway, I get a call from a patrol at like 0200 wanting me to come to a scene of a death investigation because one of the guys there was uncooperative with the investigation and the place reeked of weed. I arrive and you guessed it, my old stoner buddy was uncooperative. Long story short, his girlfriend had some terrible disease and died shortly after they had done some drugs. Can't remember what it was. In the house was a safe, and on top of it were scales with meth residue and baggies and balloons. I wrote the search warrant, and in the safe was his weed, some shrooms, heroin, meth, LSD on blotter paper, a journal with names and amounts, and some money wrapped in dryer sheets. We both just looked at each other and did the silent head nod. A couple days later he asked to see me in the jail. I did not know what to expect because I knew he was not going to snitch his sources. He said, "Rhino 148. I just want you to know that I'm glad it was you, and I would not tell a soul about what the weed we smoked." He was dead serious, and in all honesty, I do not think he was trying to jam me up to help his situation. I said thanks, but everything he said was recorded by the jail, and he was mind blown that my employers know my drug use history / polygraph results, and was still a cop. He served a little under 2 years, and was out, and got jammed up again. Several years later he is still on the run with a $500,000 warrant. I was a cop for 13 years. I think it was Baltimore. They have traffic cops that are different than regular cops. Regular cops were parking their cop cars all over in and around the precinct and in illegal spots on the streets. Somebody fired up a local politician who got the parking ticket cops to ticket every single illegal cop car. It wound up being an ugly pissing contest, and I think the tickets were later dropped. But it was to make a point about illegal parking and being above the law. Oh, I can finally contribute to one of these. Back in the day my uncle was a cop and my dad loved to party. One day my dad was drunk at a party and got into a fight. When the call came over the radio my uncle responded not knowing it was my dad. Apparently my dad did not take his brother serious when he tried to calm things down and got himself tased along with a night in jail for disorderly conduct. Another cop would have probably charged him for assault on an officer. Then again, he probably would not have assaulted any other cop. Well, until he did 6 years later. Typical did not happen to me, but there was a guy who graduated a few years before me and became a cop. Power must have gotten to his head, because he would go to all the old places he used to hang out with friends and pull them over as fee leave. Apparently he has since moved and switched where he worked because there was a conflict of interest lol. Edit. I feel I should add I have no idea what he would pull them over for. Obviously if they were drinking he'd want them pulled over too. I think it just got out of hand over time. But once he did pull over my neighbor for drug possession in front of my house, so he was not all bad I guess. Baha. When I was 17 my uncle arrested me for underage drinking. Slap on the wrist. Sent to drunk tank for about 45 minutes until my mom picked me up. Didn't even search me or check my purse. I had cigarettes and weed in it. Oof. I think he knew. It's been 13 years and I'm still afraid to ask lol. My wife works with a lady that's married to a cop who's notorious for trapping people in innocent conversations for doing illegal things. I just mean random people at dinner parties. Oh, you brought back whiskey from one place to another? Here's why that's illegal. Be scared of me. I ducking hate this guy. Typical mustache. Loud. Overtly racist piece of sunburn. My sister is a police officer and caught mom speeding. Living in a pretty small town. Most of the people knew each other, so my Cs had to give my mom a ticket, just so people would not complain about it. IDK how fair it was. But the funny thing is, that mom was speeding cause she thought I had a party at our house. Even though I'm a lazy ass introvert. You have made it until the end of this video. Now listen here, and listen here closely. Like and subscribe for more curated content by Mr. Reddit Man. Thanks for watching.